We are on road. Hello, Professor and class. So we right now have Aditi Nishidala, who is the synergist of this company called Basic Elements, which is the leading fire protection firm in Telangana and AP in India for the industrial sector. So hi Aditi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, Neeraj.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, and we'll just go and see how this works out. Okay. All right, the first
Yeah.
question is, yeah, just to get this thing started, can you give us a little intro about your company and how big and how many people are in your company?
Yes. So we, like you mentioned, are the largest fire protection, leading fire protection service firm for basic element for the industrial sector in Telangana and AP. We also do projects pan India. Our scope of work is basically supply, installation, testing, and commissioning. Sometimes even designing and consulting for the best kind of fire protection service that any kind of premises requires. We are also now a part of an invention, which is of a first of its kind product. And hopefully, I think that is the case for this product with the world also, that it's not there. We're in the process of patenting it.
Awesome.
I take care of that. I lead that product division, and I also take care of the system process structure bridging, and hence the name synergist.
Okay, that's beautiful. All right, so without ado, we'll just jump on to the questions I have for you. So I wanted to know how can limited time impact the workplace for your employees?
When you're saying limited time, can you just
Yeah, so limited time as in imagine example like there's a project and I need to deliver this in a very tight deadline and I have very limited
Hmm.
time. And yeah, maybe you can give us a little example of when you've been in this kind of situation and did you read and adapt to the situation well, kind of a
All
scenario.
right. So basically, the moment we commit to a limited timeline, then that means we're either going to do it in a very expensive manner, or we're going to do it in a very shabby manner. Basic Elements does not stand for any of those two things. So the kind of timelines that we basically commit are in consideration with all the kinds of challenges that we might face, especially in our kind of industry where there are multiple service providers working at the same time, because we're into fire safety. We also have the civil, the plumbing, and the HVAC happening at the same time. And when this is happening, it is a little challenging to be able to just share this time slot that only we will be working with. So if we do have challenges when all of these things come into picture, and we delay our projects. It is more about the relationship management that we have with our clients,
Okay.
where we share with them what the reasons are and such. But limited time is something of a challenge that we have not really faced very often.
Organization. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So then next question would be how can too much work impact the workplace?
This is something basically anybody just burns out the moment it is too much work.
Hmm.
Uh, Again, too much work should really be too much work. It is not about how many hours you check in, and then what is the time you're checking in, what is the time you're checking out. Because the kind of office culture that we used to have before the pandemic, if it was an 8 hour um, time in and time out, the kind of expectation that I would have from my team would be that if they work for at least 5 hours, it would be a great achievement for the day.
Ah, okay.
So,
There was never a chance of too much work also, you're saying.
no, no. Of course, there is a lot of scope to really work when you really want to. It's about taking up that accountability on you. And the moment we are a small organization, we are an SME. And when we are an SME, we expect every team member to have some amount of interest and accountability and ownership on their shoulders. When that didn't happen, them producing or being productive for 5 hours itself felt like an achievement.
Hmm.
Now with work from home in place, there is no boundary between a workplace and a home, and that's where we do not really know how much productivity is happening and how much of it is just saying I'm online. So that is a challenge uh, that has begun for the work from home teams, that I believe. But again, coming back to too much work, of course, it's a natural progression that if you have too much work or you've been stressing out too much, you burn out.
Yeah. So what do you do in such kind of situations? Have you
Um,
did you write
I
in your
we do not have a we tend to ask our team members that if there is any work, or if we are taking longer time in a day to be productive, that means we're not doing it efficiently.
Hmm.
So we suggest that they do not work after 6. 9:30 to 6 are our working hours, and we suggest that they do not work after 6, as long as until 6 they are putting their heart and soul into it. That's the way we do it.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. So, do you anticipate such kind of situations happening in your future for your organization?
For our organization, we're not
Anticipating it.
no, I don't really anticipate that happening for our organization, because even right now as we speak, we are in the process of a very intensive training where we're doing something called a goal setting workshop for each of these departments. So the moment everybody understands their job best,
Hmm.
and they are able to schedule and plan it well, I do not think there's any scope for too much work at any point of time, because again, we are an SME, we have at least one person for those support teams, and sometimes four.
Okay.
So, so a lot of workload is shared. No, not really. We are not really in a space where somebody can complain that they have a lot of work.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. That's nice. Okay. Let's move to the next question. Next question is, how can other people not doing their part impact the workplace? Can you think of an example when you've been in this situation?
Oh, very often. That's something that they're very often. I will go on with a little example, but before that, the moment you are doing somebody's job, you forget doing your job, and that is what happens quite often in our organization. And most of the times in many small organizations like ours, there is a scope for this to definitely happen,
Mhm.
just because it's a smaller size, and you tend to think that, okay, this is something, let me save that little bit of money by making this person do that job. So if I try to make my accounts person do a sales job, he will suck at it.
Mhm.
And that is something uh, that is not to be done, more or less. And not just that, even with the existing employees, like for example, I just wanted to take something from my organization. I have a team member who's a purchase officer, a very committed person, and he probably works even on Sundays doing my finance manager's job. Some days he does my salesperson's job, some days he does my stores manager's job. He has not completed his 10th standard,
Okay.
and and still that is the kind of commitment, and that is the kind of work effort he puts in. I cannot draw a growth chart for him if he's not doing his work but doing everybody else's.
Hmm.
And not just that, it does not bode well with other members who think whose jobs he's not doing. He thinks he's being partial to them. They think he's being partial to them, and the persons whose job he is doing are getting lazy.
Okay.
So it is just one person being committed and doing other person's job, but then it's affecting so many people in so many ways,
Yeah.
to the management, to the team members, in all, everybody basically.
So
So,
did
and that,
you
if
fix?
it is too many people doing that, then it definitely makes a lot of difference, and basically it just shakes the culture.
Hmm. True. So did you find a way to fix this situation back then, or?
Oh yes.
What?
So basically, it's a matter of system again, and it is a matter of holding people accountable for what they have not done. So the moment we go back and ask them, or when the moment I went back to my finance manager and asked, why did this person have to do something that is supposed to be your job? He said he didn't know how to do it.
Okay.
So that's when he thought of bringing in the learning competencies and the learning element into the picture. But still, it is something about having that kind of accountability and just understanding where the shared responsibility ends. That's the thing we're teaching our teams. For this purpose, we also have training every Saturday evening, just to ensure that each person knows what their role is. They are very clear about what their role is, and the moment we finish that training, we sit with them, have them plan their next week, just so that nobody else goes into their job.
Okay, cool. So do you have like a hierarchical management so that if somebody is overstepping into each other's boundary, do they go and like reconcile?
Yes, that's pretty much my job. We are a very flat organization in terms of the hierarchy, organizational hierarchy. But as synergist, that's the thing that I do. I bridge the gap between people and the process gaps, and that's how ensuring that this training that I'm talking about is done. I'm ensuring that the training is effective. That's what I do. And I also have a team with me now. I have a new team member who ensures that this specific accountability is in place. And she also ensures that she's calling these people every day and checking if they have done their plan right, if they are on track with their plan, they are progressing as planned, and all of those things. So it brings a kind of system into a stronger place for system, and a less places for the excuses and
Okay. So
intertwining of roles.
you anticipate such kind of things, I mean, such kind of situations happening again in the future where people are not
Ho-
doing
ho- Hopefully not, but we're all people and we all deviate from a system. But we also have a monitoring system to bring it back to players, and that's what my confidence is, and that's the confidence I'm riding on.
Wait, you guys are monitoring this like a
Yes, we are monitoring it basically through a document management system, and where they are planning and scheduling their things, and uh, having a checklist calendar, or as to if they planned something for the whole week, what is it that they have been able to achieve, what was the planned things that they were able to achieve, and what was the ad hoc thing that came in the way.
Okay.
Those are the things that they have to note down, and that helps us monitor. And the moment something is not just in your head and on paper, it brings some clarity for us also to
So when do you
track
anticipate
and monitor.
future? Is there like a frequency of when this such kind of scenarios happen?
We are closely monitoring on a weekly basis, but beyond that, uh, it is challenging to really get a hold of it in a very, you know
Okay.
quantifiable manner.
Okay.
And definitely there would be those undercurrents where people are still doing those things, but it's a difficult thing to get to know.
All right, nice. Yeah, but actually, trainings are a really good way to let your employees know what are their boundaries and what are the roles and responsibilities they should be wary of.
Yes,
Actually. Cool. Let's.
especially because we do something like a role clarity training, where they are to explain about their role continuously to the team. The moment you start teaching something about something, you start learning more, and that's where we think this works.
Awesome. Cool. And this is the last question for the session. So, how can conflict between an among employees impact the workplace? I guess you must have seen conflict of opinions between employees. So, how do you handle such kind of situations? Can you give an example if you came across one?
Yes. So conflict among employees is going to be absolutely natural. There will always be a way for any team member to find a point to pick a fight with somebody else.
Okay.
What we believe is there are four types of teams.
Okay.
One is a comfort zone team where they're not focusing on the job and they're just being very friendly. It's not working for us. Another one is a very dysfunctional team where neither are they busy doing their job, nor are they busy fighting
Okay.
or being friendly, whichever way it is. The other one is the comfort conflict zone, which is the one that we're talking about. Only where their focus is on the job, but they don't have the team coordination or collaboration capacities that they should be having. That's where the conflict arises. If that is addressed, then it's very natural for them to move from the conflict zone to the high performance team zone, which is where our target is getting them there.
Okay.
So for this, we have begun actually very recently to come up with something called a culture charter.
Wow.
As basic elements, we call this book the basic way. So we note down different scenarios. We note down what is the basic way of doing it and what is not the basic way of doing it. And the moment we start putting all of these points down, here things begin from something as simple and normal as coming late to office to very huge ones, or a, a very unique and specific one to our organization where, sorry.
So every time they default, you just make a note of it?
We do have, like I mentioned multiple times, we do have something called an accountability letter where you we share accountability letters, or we have a rule that if a person gets that more than 3 accountability letters a month, he would go into probation.
Oh, okay. That's scary.
So they know they know that what they are supposed to do, and they know how to be in a place where they are doing what they have to do right. So we actually have our core values are accuracy, accountability, and congeniality. Wow. Along with continuous improvisation and innovation. So when when we're saying congeniality is a core value, then that's something that it has to reflect in every member. And that's the reason we have this. We have a lot of challenges many times about how a person is speaking to somebody, because we have a lot of blue collar employees where they've not been brought up, or they've not been exposed to the kind of professional environment that we have. And it's not their fault that they speak in a certain way. It's only about letting them know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable is one of the anecdotes or examples that I can pull from there. So that's what happens in our culture charter. It started off as a little document, now it's this big. So we are trying to fill it more with whatever scenarios we come across, and what is the best practice that we are going to adopt to make that conflict be a conflict of only one time, and the same issue does not repeat again.
Okay, so can you give me an example of a conflict between your employees, and how did you read and adapt to that situation, and what could you have done?
Okay, so we have an HR manager and we have a sales manager, and our sales manager stays back in office sometimes till 7, sometimes till 8, and even later if that's if his job is not done. He never comes to office on time, and that becomes an issue for my HR manager, because her role clarity requires her to have all kinds of systems in place to ensure that everybody is on time, and there is discipline and etiquette being followed in office. And the sales manager has his role clarity that he has to be able to generate revenue. Sometimes maybe it is not done in the 9:30 to 6 bracket. Okay. So what do we do here? None of them is wrong. Okay. And but still, this kind of language that they pick with each other itself, it comes in a very aggressive manner where they're like, how can you be late so many times? I'm going to complain. I'm going to take action. You are not going to receive your salary fully. All of these things come in. And he says, I will see how you will receive, how you will be even be able to pay salaries if I do not generate the revenue at all. Oh. And, so they do not pick up with, okay, why, what, that does not begin. The whole pickup itself is at a level where मैं देख लूंगी तुम देख लेंगे. That
Yeah.
is the Hindi version of it. But that's where they pick up. And to address that kind of an issue is something of a challenge, because if there is one right and one wrong, it is always easier to finish a conflict. But if both these people are right in their own places, then that's where the challenge is. And that's how this culture charter that we're talking about came up, where the scenario is that, yes, a person has to be in office on time, and maybe for the extra hours covered, we will be giving them some kind of recognition and reward, and finding a place where he's able to say that he spent more hours doing a certain thing is what is going to be the achievement. Or
Hmm.
maybe he will have a little flexibility in his working hours because he is staying for longer hours. And those things had to come up. And what is the scenario going to be, and how we're going to resolve it? That is what we drew in our charter, and that's how we decided that a so and so method was going to be adopted for this category of people. For another category of people, that will not be the same, because their job does not require them to have flexible hours
Mhm.
and such things.
Okay, awesome. Not bad. That's a good way to resolve conflicts. All right. I think that should be it. But thank you so much, Aditi, for joining me and getting this thing done. Yeah. Peace. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye.
Thanks. Thanks, Dheeraj. Bye.